This is the Alfa Romeo Tonale, Alfa's first ever electrified car. And we're going to tell you everything there is to know about it. But first, make sure you're subscribed to our channel so that when we've driven the car, you can see our full review as soon as it goes live. And if you're looking for a great deal on your next car, then just click on the link, look in our description below, or go to whatcar.com. So what is the Tonale? Well, like the Stelvio, it's an Alfa Romeo named after an Italian mountain pass, and it's a family SUV that's going to be up against other cars like the Audi Q3 and Volvo XC40. In terms of sizing, the Tonale is smaller than the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, but compared to the other kinds of cars that this is up against, it's relatively big. So in total, it's 4.5 metres long, it's 1.8 metres wide, 1.6 metres tall, all of which is fairly similar to the Q3. Now, the exterior of the Tonale actually looks quite familiar to the concept car which we first saw in 2019, but the interior has been toned down a bit compared to that concept car that we saw way back then. But it still leaves you with quite a nice layout in here, to be honest, and the driving position does seem very good, no issues with visibility that you can spot from here. And it also feels quite sporty by the standards of the family SUV class because you've got this really heavily raked windscreen here. And what's also really nice is having these metallic paddle shifters here, which aren't standard, but you can get them on this car, as you can with versions of the Stelvio and the Quadrifoglio, and they're just really, really nice to have. Now, on the subject of quality, that has been one area where recent Alfa Romeos have been a little bit disappointing. So if you look at the Giulia and if you look at the Stelvio, while the build quality generally is okay, it's let down by really cheap feeling parts of it, particularly around some of the levers and the switchgear and the buttons. In the Tonale, it does feel like Alfa has attempted to improve that, and it feels like a step forward for the brand. Now, the level of quality in here is much more consistent than it is in the Stelvio and in the Giulia. It's still not perfect. There are some cheaper feeling plastics around the center console, and some of the levers, and particularly these aircon buttons, are also a little bit wobbly, but this is also a pre-production version of this car, so we can't draw too many conclusions. Even still, it does feel like a step forward for Alfa Romeo in terms of interior build quality, and that's good to see. Plus, it's also good, don't forget, that we've got physical buttons still for the air conditioning. It's not hidden within the touchscreen, which brings us to the tech in here. Now, every version of this car gets a 10.2-inch touchscreen infotainment system here, and you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and wireless phone charging as well. And it's reasonably responsive, nice graphics, like the 12.3-inch digital driver display, which is really big, really clear, very easy to see, and that is good that you get all of that as standard as well. But perhaps the most eye-catching bit of new tech available with the Tonale isn't actually anything to do with the infotainment system or driver display. This is said to be the first car in the world to have a non-fungible token, or NFT, available with it. Rather than being a weird cyber monkey artwork thing, the Tonale's NFT basically acts as a digital passport for the car. It will record things like the mileage and service history, and it can't be interfered with. If you don't want it to be collecting your data, then don't worry, because for it to work, you need to give permission first. Alfa reckons it will help the residual value of the car, but you won't be able to sell the NFT separately from it. Full details of exactly how it will work and what it will look like are yet to be announced. More conventional car tech available as standard in the Tonale includes adaptive cruise control with lane centering assistance. So, all in all, up front, this does feel like a step forward for Alfa Romeo, certainly, and this is a pretty good interior by class standards. Is it up there with the BMW X1, Volvo XC40? Not quite, because they've just got a much higher, consistent level of build quality, and in terms of the materials that are used as well, they feel more plush. But it's still good in here. In the back, space seems to be okay, really. Headroom isn't so great. I'm just under 6 foot and sitting up straight back here. I can fit, but I've not got much clearance above my head there. Legroom seems to be a bit better, where I have got a bit more room to stretch out in the back. And another good thing back here is that if you're sat in this middle seat, then you have quite a wide seat base. It's also not raised up really high, and the lump in the floor is pretty small and low as well, so that is good. This might not be the most practical interior in the family SUV class, but if you do need to sit tall adults in the rear every now and then they should be able to sit back here in relative comfort. Now, you might know that Alfa Romeo, along with a host of other car brands, have all become part of the Stellantis motoring group, with the idea that all those manufacturers like Vauxhall, Peugeot, Fiat can share mechanical underpinnings and therefore spread the cost of developing new models. But the Tonale won't benefit from any of those shiny new platforms. Instead, this is the final Alfa to sit on underpinnings produced by its former parent company, which was Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. So that means the new Tonale is actually based underneath on the Jeep Renegade. One difference between the Renegade and the Tonale though is the boot, and in the Alfa it's a little bit bigger than not just the Renegade but actually also the BMW X1 and the Volvo XC40. You also get a height adjustable boot floor as standard, which in its lowest setting gives you a bit more storage space in the back here, as you can see, but it does also leave you with a bit of an awkward ledge right at the back of the boot there. But still, by the standards of the family SUV class, this appears to be a relatively practical boot. Plus, every Tonale gets an electric tailgate as standard. All Tonales come with an automatic gearbox, and in the UK at launch, there's a choice of 2 engines, so you can get a plug-in hybrid or a regular hybrid. That hybrid 160 is technically more of a mild hybrid than a regular hybrid. It comes with a 4-cylinder 1.5 litre petrol engine and a 48-volt electric motor, which allows the car to run on electric power on startup and some low-speed driving. For the plug-in hybrid, the fully electric range is likely to be around 37 miles, which is a bit further than the 30 miles claimed by the Audi Q3 plug-in hybrid. That version of the Tonale gets a 15.5 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which feeds a 121 brake horsepower electric motor driving the rear wheels. A 178 brake horsepower 1.3 litre petrol engine is also on hand driving the front wheels, giving the plug-in Tonale 4-wheel drive and a total power output of 271 brake horsepower. 0 to 62 miles per hour is seen off in a brisk 6.2 seconds. And those engine options available now aren't likely to be the end of the choice of power for the Tonale lineup. The platform that this car is built on is said to be able to take a fully electric version of the Tonale, but it hasn't been confirmed that that's exactly in the plans for this car. Similarly, we might see a performance-focused quadrifoglio version of the Tonale. For those now dreaming of a V6-engined Tonale that might offer a similarly ballistic performance-focused experience that the Stelvio Quadrifoglio delivers, let me bring you back down to earth with some sensible news that Alfa has introduced a new improved warranty for all of its cars. Previously, if you bought a new car from them, it would be covered for 3 years, but it's now been extended to 5 years of cover. Prices are still being finalised, but to be competitive with the hybrid and plug-in hybrid variants of its rivals, it would need a price around £35,000 to £40,000 when it goes on sale later this year. It'll have to be careful to leave enough of a gap to the bigger Stelvio though, which starts from £45,000. So that was the Alfa Romeo Tonale. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can see our full review of the car as soon as we've driven it. And for more of our other reviews, click on the boxes there. Click on that one for a great deal on whatcar.com and tell us in the comments below, what do you think of the Tonale?